years where now we had cyber security issues such as just hacking, identity theft. Identity theft is where someone just get, let's say, credit and get to you and do something that so from that now, of course, I realized there was need for me to be myself into cybersecurity. At that time, there was not a lot of universities in Kenya offering cybersecurity. So I went to Russia. Russians are good about different ways of hacking and, of course, securing data. So the motivation that drives me, of course, it's the data bridges that we had, and of course, now everyone is having a smartphone or you have a computer, and because of that, we have data online. So it means that now we need also to secure the digital space. So that made me now to get myself into cybersecurity, and so that.
Oh, wow,
Yes.
that's quite encouraging. So, from your experience, what are the most common digital security mistakes that students make?
Okay, so not only students, of course, sharing that on Facebook, on TikTok, as much as you want people to know your timeline and all that. So oversharing is one of the key issues. Another issue is, of course, this applies across. So when it comes to clicking on links, so do not click on. So most people end up clicking on doing that and end up clicking. So if you click that, of course, we have some links that are malicious. And why malicious? So malicious, we're looking at those links being a malware. So a malware is any in some of the data. So if you click on that link, of course, some of you have seen some messages from your friends, let's say asking money urgently, or of course, telling you that you will win. I don't know, Microsoft is giving or Amazon is giving $500 and all that. So that is the cause of now you clicking on a link that you don't know. And of course, that link is a script that is able now, of course, to send a certain method, and as you do that, of course, that maybe the cyber criminal wants to steal money or they have another malicious motive. So that is also another way where now most of people misuse the internet. Then we also have now the application. I know everyone has a smartphone and application, and of course you don't go through the terms and condition. And as you do that, of course, what will be able to happen is you can end up giving a lot or giving permissions to applications. They can collect your audio. So that means now, when it comes to the cyber world, you may end up, let's say, for example, you're installing a photo editor. So I know most of you post reels. So as you install that photo editor, then there is you're supposed to give permission. So instead of each to be able to do is force do not share. We end up sharing intimate photos and all that. So it's advised that you don't share. If you have to share, then share. We have viewers right now, so you can use that. Uh, we say that don't share, but now of course we're human, and of course, if you have someone you want to share something, so if you have to share, just make sure that you take the precaution and do the necessary, which is just use V1s or use application that can be able to encrypt your photo or even delete that photo.
All right. So, you've talked about apps, and could you please give us maybe the security features in some of them, or let's say most of the used messaging apps? For example, WhatsApp, Telegram, Twitter.
So we do have. So when you're looking at application, before you install any applications, you need to look at the features. Of course, what will this application be supposed using? Is it your image? Is it your message? So let's say, for example, WhatsApp or Telegram. So if you're installing an application that is used, of course, to exchange messages, you have to look at features such as end-to-end encrypted. Encryption is basically the technique of concealing the information. So that means if you are chatting with your friend, that communication will only be uh, you who is sending that, and of course the end user who is receiving that message. So you have to check those applications. Do they have end-to-end encryption? Then you have also to look at the permission comes with. Is it of course collecting images, or is it using your data? Some of them they will say that they're using the data for marketing purposes. So you need to look at that. And of course, you have visited some web applications or apps, or let's say on the some websites that the ASCII is, of course, the data that they will be able to collect from that, from you, and that application to collect information about it. So you need to be able to be very careful so that now, of course, that um, that pop-up that comes up, of course, it has been put there because of the security. You know, some countries ask the, of course, like for example, we have GDPR, which is an act in the European Union, which talks about as you're handling someone's data, like if you visit most of the applications, they'll have those pop-ups. The reason for that is that now you're managing uh, what data you are sharing as a user, so that now if you allow them, of course, they're going to be able to use your data. So those are very, very key features. And of course, if you're, let's say you're using, I don't know which application, and then of course, I'm just giving an example of a photo editor or something that you want to use for Reels. You're not, of course, supposed to, who knows how you're going to be able to use that data. Today in the morning, I just saw a colleague sharing a link. And you know what? The link was malicious, but now the colleague thought that by sharing on the WhatsApp group, um, she was helping. Where now it comes that the application was saying that it will be able to delete all your data on Google, to remove any data from different application and all that. So, but now on me looking at that, of course, I said in case you get any link, you don't just look. Very important that we look at the application. Installing an application is not a problem, but now just make sure that whatever you're doing is able to the permission you're giving the application is something that you're okay with, so that they don't end up collecting some confidential data, or data that you want to be private.
All right. So, Angema, when someone is cyberbullied or they are harassed online,
Yes.
how do the victims seek justice?
Okay, so that's a very wide question, but I'll answer it to the few. Let's say with Section 22 of the CMCA 2018. Of importance, number one is to always keep the evidence or store the evidence. And how can you store the evidence? You can copy the URLs, can copy the timelines. So you can always take a screenshot to save what was said or what was posted. After that, number two, there are always online platform community responsibilities of a platform. So all social media platforms are required to have an extension as to how users can report cases of cyber harassment. So that's a second option whereby you can report such instances taken down or something of that sort. The third one is by you actually blocking them or muting their conversation. That can be another way of you with what has been done to you or what has happened. Then you are at liberty to, number one, go to the police or the nearest police station. Here they'll need, or they will, it will be taken up as a criminal matter. And in a criminal matter, the state is the one to represent you through the director of public. So a prosecutor will be the one responsible to represent you in a court of law, and the perpetrator will likely in or a custodial sentence. If you're still not contented with criminal justice per se, then if you psychosocially, mentally not okay, then there is always the route of a civil lawsuit, whereby you can opt for a civil lawsuit. And a civil lawsuit is a different from a criminal lawsuit. Suit is a different from a criminal lawsuit, because in a civil law, there are ways in which you can actually address issues to do with cyberbullying, cyber harassment, and the issue to do with photos with the public on social media. Yeah, password. you can record the evidence for the digital time frames right now because all information can be retrieved. And if you're having a problem now, A, B, C, and D, and it has affected you, and later on they have deleted it, you can always reach out to the social media platforms so that they can put in a court order to retrieve deleted information. And from that, you can make your own judgment whether to go the criminal route or
So speaking of data privacy, Harrison, right now we are in the AI era used against flow. Yani, I'm there searching how to get away with murder, tujue ndo, tujue chenye tutachat huko.
Okay. Thank you very much for that question. So, what I can be able to say, when it comes to the issue about ChatGPT, it comes to oversharing. Of course, it's a model, and when you look at AI, of course, it's learning from you, and of course, it keeps the memory. That's why you saw sometimes people sharing information about you. Ask ChatGPT to describe you, and then it's able to pick from the question that you have been asking or whatever document that you have been sharing there, so it can be able to even generate your profile. So that means if you shared or you asked a question, let's say you wanted to do something or something happened, and then of course it kept in the memory or the model was able to learn about that. So that means if you take into a court of law, uh, signing up for any generative AI, you have to allow some terms and conditions. So one of the conditional terms that you are supposed to allow is that you're allowing the model to use your data, the AI model to use your data, and of course that data is being used to improve it. But at the same time, of course, in case of any legal issues, that means someone can be able to go back and try to get whatever you're doing there. Like for example, I've just given you an example of people were sharing about ChatGPT talking about the let's say the character. Maybe sometimes when you are even writing in the legal perspective.
Wa, huanga mbaya.
Mm.
So, Angima,
yes.
speaking of the same AI,
Yes.
do you think
But before I answer that question on what Harrington said, the relevant public authorities without a court order, because every single person is entitled to privacy rights, which are provided in the Constitution under Article 31. That being said, the question to do with whether the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act is keeping up with the current advancements of technology, uh, it has come a long way, if I may say so, but it's falling short on certain issues. For example, issues to do with artificial intelligence. So, artificial intelligence, when it comes to things like misinformation, malinformation, you'll want to prosecute the perpetrators behind these crimes. But the issue is the originator of such images or videos is usually AI. So, how do you trace down and track down the responsible chatbot or the responsible algorithm or AI that is responsible in making these videos and photos? But we also know for an AI to make such content, it needs the human element of it. It needs someone to give it instructions and whatnot, but it becomes very difficult for, let's say, the public prosecution's office to now go on the ground and convict a perpetrator who was maybe sharing the silhouettes of William Ruto, because can they prove it's the one who made this photo? If they cannot prove it's the one who made this photo, then it becomes very, very difficult for the prosecution and also the legal agencies in this country to actually pin down perpetrators. Number two is the issue to do with advancements on uh, advancements on criminality, because there are certain elements to do with cyber flashing. So you get somebody sending you random nude photos or nude videos without you asking for them. And the problem is you cannot now start tracing this person to their locales. because equally you have the protection of their rights and their privacy rights, and it becomes now very difficult for you to balance the national interest of the state in terms of security, and on the other hand, balance the rights and fundamental freedoms of digital users. Other than that, there is the issue to do with social media platforms. Some of them are not posted or do not originate in Africa, and in particular in Kenya. So if you are having an issue with a social media platform, and that platform is in, let's say, Switzerland, or it's in the US, or it's in China, so how do you prosecute the owners of this platform? It will be very difficult if we as Kenyans do not have legal multilateral agreements so as to help us prosecute both regional and international criminals who actually use the digital space to further their criminal agendas. Uh, Other than that, there is also an issue to do with the lack of takedown procedures, because once content is uploaded uh, on social media platforms, the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act is very silent on this issue to do with takedown procedure. What do I mean by takedown procedure? A takedown procedure is it's a known three-step procedure whereby number one, you give a notice to social media platform and say person X has been spreading fake information online, right? Once that social media platform receives that request, it is given an action in plan. An action in plan is duration like 2 weeks on what it can do to arrest this situation. And then after the lapse of the 2 weeks now, the third thing is consequences that will follow. So in the Computer Misuse and Cybercrime, we do not have a clear takedown procedure, because people who upload content online, take a scenario whereby you have an individual who has uploaded material regarding child pornography, and you don't have the exact takedown procedure. So in as much as you report these instances, there is no clear takedown procedure. Therefore, it fits the point. And we can see these are the loopholes that need to be amended or reformed within the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act.
All right.
Mm.
So as we wind up, Harrison, you mentioned something on verification of information online. So let's say, for example, I get to Twitter and I see a post saying the president has said he'll give 10,000 monthly to unemployed youth. How do I verify if it's true or it's false?
So, when it comes to cybersecurity, that is, of course, if you see anything catchy, we talk about it as social engineering techniques. So, what is social engineering techniques? So, social engineering is basically the art of manipulating someone. Because when it comes to that, the messages or even the post will be catchy. Of course, and when you're looking about when you call it being catchy, it means that like you will be able to know that this is it's basically something that it's so good at it. You look at it as something that is very so good to be true, and sometimes, of course, you also uh, the account that is posting that, of course, you have to verify is it coming from the president. Of course, we have parody account and all that. So most of the time, you'll find that um, the account, if is the president talking about that, it will be there. Or if Amazon is saying that they're giving $500 or $50, so you can be able to see the domain, and the domain here is the email or the site that is coming from Amazon. For example, there is you get something that you're not expecting, or you get a message that you're not expecting. So if you have, let's say, you're thinking about it and feeling like um, this is something that cannot be true, or you have that second thought that you're thinking about, is it like, for example, the X where the president is posting? So you start looking at um, is the president able to give everyone 10,000? Of course, we can have scenarios where someone has hacked their account. Like there was a scenario where many of the prominent people, I think that was in 20 before around COVID time there. So there was um, scenarios where or data breaches where cyber criminals hacked into accounts of uh, let's say Bill Gates, all those senior people, and they posted something about crypto. When you talk about blockchain and all that, so that means if you see a post like that, you'll wonder, is it this person has not been posting this? Is it true? Then you start looking at those things, verify the account, you verify maybe if it's something that requires urgency. Like for example, if you see someone telling you that um, you have to pay this amount by this time. If you don't pay, maybe the money will go up and all that. So that means that is a social engineering technique. So they want you to, before you can be able to realize, to be able to do what they want you to do. And if you can be able to do that, so that means it can be really a problem. So your work will be for you to be able to verify, go down, make sure that you check out the post, is it true, and then if there's some bit of urgency in that message, that should be able to show you that that is a red flag, showing you someone why the urgency. So you can, if I'm supposed to, let's say, for example, receive money, I can receive it even after 2 days, right? Or if I'm supposed to send money or I'm supposed to pay something, I can do that after, let's say, even tomorrow. Like, for example, just an example as I finish. There was an example, like, for example, I know right now we have many companies selling, like, if you go to Instagram, also verifying a legit shop from now the one that from that of scammers, it's very very hard. So there's a time, and this was very smart because most of them, they will reduce the price, and that will make you to feel like, why is this iPhone that let's say an iPhone that's supposed to be 200 to 150,000 shillings is at 50,000? So that will be a red. Then what they did, they just reduced by 10,000 shillings, and then if you call them, of course, before you purchase anything online, you need to know their location. So if you call them, they will tell you they are at the hub in Karen. And then, of course, what will be able to happen, they will tell you that this is our offer. This is an offer that is ending, let's say, in 30 minutes. So they know, they ask you where you are, and then they say that you have to pay prior before now you can be able to do to pick the iPhone. So that means they they are manipulating your mind. So if you end up sharing, let's say paying that amount, then you end up becoming their victim. So that means you need to be able to verify, you need to look at some few things. You need to look at if a message has an urgency or there is something that, yeah.
Oh, nice. So before Angima and Harrison give us their parting shots, we welcome questions to them. Anyone with a question, you can just raise your hand.
Yeah, it's a kid. Money.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Hi.
The question I have is, I know you had said something about the Constitution. So in terms of the data privacy law,
Yes.
is it normally, sorry, does it sorry, does it normally affect, like, you see, in terms of the previous law, you had said the cybersecurity law, does it affect, like, the operations in terms of when you're trying to prosecute like a perpetrator? Like in that instance, you've given the example of um somebody sends you a link, and then probably that link you continue with it, and then it goes the bad way, and then you end up giving the money and then all that. So does the data privacy law kind of like protect the person or not?
Okay. So you have already given a consent by clicking on that link. So it doesn't. When you look at Data Protection Act of 2018, it talks about, of course, let's say, for example, if I collect your data,
Yeah.
remember the person who is sharing that link is a cyber criminal, is a criminal. So that means it's not like a website, or it's not a site. where now it will be guided by the Data Protection Act of 2018. So that means if you have to sue this person, you are the one who was, of course, who clicked on that link, then this person is a criminal. So it can only be able to help is that if you're able to know the person, you can, because if they are, let's say, for example, you have seen scenarios where we have lot, they
Yeah,
just
yeah,
call you and then you're able to give that permission and all
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So the government or the legal or the judiciary will take action in case you report that. But now, it doesn't, the Data Protection Act doesn't give you, because you are the one who initiated, you clicked on that link. Then when you clicked on that, of course, whatever they're using or they're stealing your money, they're criminals. So it doesn't highlight that, but of course, it gives you now the lawyers or the advocates or the judiciary that permission to prosecute in case you get that done by you. And if you don't know the cyber criminal, it would be really, really a problem. But if you can be able to know, you can go to the court of law because information that now can be able now to prosecute that criminal when it comes to cybercrime.
Okay. I think why I had asked that is because you see, like when you read the data privacy law, it's more of you, yeah. Why I'm saying that because you see, like these apps like Uber, Meta, and all that, there's some countries that they can't go to. But now the honest thing, like if Uber, they have they have to make sure like wait.
Uh,
That's why there's sometimes you can find that being under that law, it's kind of like I don't know if we normally have a say when it comes to when those like those base like with the constitution and everything.
So
Does that make sense? Because I think it's
yes,
been really
so
disturbing me
yes,
a
that's
lot.
what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sometimes terrorism has said,
Yeah.
for example, if somebody has sent you phishing link, right?
Yeah.
And you've clicked on it and by mistake you've lost, let's say, 20,000, right?
Yeah.
And you want to seek justice, right?
Yeah.
So the first point of view to document, like the screenshots, like I've told you, and
Okay.
actual the M-Pesa messages and whatnot. Then the next step is for you to go to cybercrimes DCI unit and then make the report. But now once you have made the report, you see in this case, it's a case of obtaining by false pretense. Yes. So once somebody sends you a link with the intent of defrauding you, but is using information that is not true, then when you read the penal code, the offense. But when you are talking about the other issues now to do with Meta and Uber and whatnot, all these have to be compliant with number one, the Constitution of Misuse and Cybercrimes Act. And then after that, the third thing they need to also be in line with is the international treaties and agreements that
Sorry, louder, please.
In terms of they've already collected the data, yeah? So is there a way you can be able to delete it? Like, yeah, is there a remedy for that?
Okay. So when you look at um, cybersecurity, of course, we have some standards, and when you call about those standards, those include, like for example, HIPAA, GDPR, that of course is highlight on how to handle customer data. So that means your data, an organization is not supposed to store your data in case, if I understood your question, in case you don't want that data, they're supposed to be able to delete it. And at the same time, when they're storing that data, they have to ensure the security of that data. So how do they ensure the security of that data. Of course, we have cryptography or cryptographic techniques where we're encrypting that data so that now, in case we have a cyber criminal accessing that data, they won't be able to access your personal data. But now, a scenario where we have had, let's say, a data breach, where now, to answer your question, you said you can be able to delete your data. Yes, you can be able to delete that data. So, in a scenario, let's say, for example, you had a Facebook account. So, when you look at Facebook terms and condition, if you have
By what?
have I
By what?
have I been have I been should